Hey guys, thanks for giving me your time today. One way I like to start things out is everybody join me, take one big deep breath in and out. One more time with an audible exhale in and out. It feels good to be a human being. So I'm a poet, filmmaker, but before I started in creative fields, I spent about 8 years paying very close attention to how the algorithms that have come to shape how we get and consume and share information, how they shape our world. And I got my start doing that. I was actually doing social strategy for Budweiser. And we're trying to figure out, we have this new medium, how do we tell stories in this medium? And two things worked. The first thing that worked was extreme statements. Budweiser is the greatest beer. Did a whole lot better than here's how Budweiser is made, which you think might maybe be more interesting, but was not. And then two was putting ideas in front of people they already believed. We had people who liked to have a good time and have a beer, and we would show pictures of people having beers, and that worked. And so that's what gained popularity in this algorithm that was maximized for engagement, and you could sort of say, who cares, right? Who cares what Budweiser or what brands are doing in this space? But what was jarring was that I would later then watch news organizations, and all of us in some capacity, following those exact same principles as we were forced to tell our stories in this social atmosphere. Watching news organizations tweak their headlines to be more extreme than they had to be because they had to compete in this space. And there were very real consequences to that shift in how the algorithm would work. The world would change as that happened. And so another consequence of this is personalization. Another thing that really works within maximizing engagement is giving people versions of the world that they already believe. You've probably heard of Wall Street Journal's Facebook red feed, blue feed of Democrats seeing different stories than Republicans. Also, when I search some things on Google, you search some things on Google, we see different results based on demographic information, etc. The New York Times even sends us different push notifications based on our history. And they have so much data, we've gotten so good at it, that we need to think of this as the way we want to live. Because if you remember that time you scrolled through her pictures for a full 20 minutes but didn't like anything, because Facebook remembers. Facebook remembers everything you've ever clicked on, what you've hovered over, and for how long, what you like, share, and comment on, whose profiles you visited, and how deep you've gone. Facebook owns Instagram. And Instagram tracks the location of every picture you've ever taken. Facebook owns WhatsApp, and what's that but a way to track your messages back across your social graph? Facebook knows. And Facebook likes to show you content you'll like ideas you've already liked and people with like ideas. So what happens when our perception of the world becomes an algorithm designed to feed us what's already on our minds versus opening our minds, expanding our minds, and leaving our preconceived notions behind? What happens when Democrats are fed only hero stories about Democrats and horror stories about Republicans? When exactly the inverse is true too, then what happens? And it's not just politics, but with any conflict, what happens when it becomes completely impossible to empathize with the other side because we're immersed in the confines of our own minds and like minds, and I want to like your mind, even if it isn't like mine, though anatomically it's almost exactly like mine, but you've been taught differently than I. Your values differ from mine, and that's fine so long as we're open to each other's sides and don't resort to clawing out each other's eyes, getting so trapped in our beliefs that we hide condemning evidence that hurts our side with secrets and with lies. And if you took that last line about hiding condemning secrets and lies to be about the other side, it's not. It's about your side, and I say that to all the sides. The truth matters most when it is not on your side. And don't get me wrong, social networks can be powerful forces for good, and we should empower those being silenced by tyrants, give a voice to the quiet and misunderstood. But can we get some transparency? Because recently I've been trying to hide my browser history from everybody, just because I don't want the internet classifying me. I want to see what the world wants me to see without being encumbered by so many algorithmic biases. My reasons for desiring all this privacy are less about what you're taking and more about what you're serving me, and I know I could turn on the tab of recency, but so long as everyone else is subject to being test subjects in digital laboratories, I'd like to keep them company. And if you're not convinced this filtration system's dangerous, think about that child growing up digitally ingrained in ISIS and what he might think the value of a life is. And then try and understand that our cultural bubble has us believing something almost as troubling. We'd be blinded to it, as with all these affirmations, our beliefs would be redoubling, and I don't claim to be able to navigate the maze that I'm describing. But let's take this moment together, recognizing that our world is a story these algorithms are co-writing. So let's seek out opposing opinions actively, respect our opposition's intelligence, explore alternatives with empathy. Let's never stop striving for variety, because there are some things that Facebook, Google, this whole personalized web doesn't know. It doesn't know the emotional impact of constant FOMO. It doesn't know how gratifying it is to overcome discomfort and truly grow. It doesn't know there are some people I need to let go, even if I'll never stop clicking their photo. It doesn't know how much the world needs voices with which we don't agree, how badly we need empathy for our fellow human beings. Everybody thinks they're the good guy. Everybody's not wrong because they disagree. There's now data to back up their opinions too, because our world has so much bias that it's rare to find an ounce of truth, and the moment we stop looking for it, searching for it actively, we lose. These algorithms don't care about bringing us together. Do you? And so it's a bit more complicated than that poem lets on, but thank you. But right now, and apologies, I'm going to fly through for time's sake, but right now, when we are shown opposing points of view, more often than not, they're shown to enrage us. They're not shown in any sort of way, which is very challenging to do, algorithmically or at all, that we might be open to. But they're shown in a way that we'll get into the comment battle, and no, I have to show that guy how much he's wrong, and then we're battling back and forth and spending more and more time. And I would like to say, and I need to move fast, but I would like to say that I realized that these social networks, weren't something I wanted to be a part of, and took a step back and started working on something else, but that's actually not true. It took me a long time to really figure out how this was affecting the world. I fell in love with startup world. I thought, hey, I know social media. I'll work on a social media startup. Quick show of hands, how many people here have ever looked down at their phone or their computer and then immediately gotten distracted and forgotten why or what you were doing? Cool, most of you, and a couple liars too, which is great. And so that was my job. I was designing notification structures to pull you out of your world and bring you into mine, because we were told that if we could keep your attention for 2 minutes or longer, we could raise our Series A at a high valuation. And it works. Like, that we're humans, we're persuadable. There are some tactics that just work at grabbing our attention. For example, if we autoplay videos within our experience, people will spend a little bit more time than if they had to click the play button. And I realized as I was doing this that my goals were not the same as the goals of the people I was designing for. I was doing social engineering, design engineering to get people in and to stay, but they weren't coming for the same reasons I was grabbing them. And I realized that as architects of our digital world, I also realized that Facebook, Netflix, Snapchat, the entire attention economy operates in the same way, stealing as much time as possible, and we have to steal more time next year than we did this year to keep our investors happy. And I realized that as architects of our digital world, we need to be better, because we can be. And we can see that these systems have been designed with intricacy so that companies can keep our attention indefinitely. I don't want to keep crushing these freaking candies. I don't want these alerts to completely command me. I don't care if that panda bear is dancing. Well, maybe. With a hula hoop. Okay, this is fantastic. I have to share this with my 10 friends and 10,000 strangers. Caption, who wants to throw a panda rager? Great, let me go back about my life. For God's sakes, I'm trying to right swipe my wife. It's been 30 seconds and just 2 Facebook likes. Or is that just 2 for which I've been notified? Let me go back and check inside and see whose likes it tried to hide. They don't show them all. I wonder why. This panda's dancing. And another video plays after automatically. This one of a gopher that stage turns dramatically. It's like my attention is kept systematically raptured by algorithms that know exactly what I want. or not what I want, just what I'll watch. And the people behind this intelligent design genuinely want to better our lives. But their bonuses just so happen to be tied to keeping time on site exceptionally high. And now even my news apps have been gamified. And what am I, not going to click that one simple sex tip guaranteed to blow her mind? Wait, where was I? And why have I forgotten to look for the thing I'm supposed to find? And my God, look at the time. It is shocking. But somehow, yes, Netflix, I am still watching. And I know. I should have more self-control. But just so we're clear, you just spent $1 million producing this story designed to cut off at the end, leaving me wanting more. See, of course, I want to see what you have in store. See my cursor already waiting there on the screen floor as you tease the next hour and all of its glory, and you'll give it to me. Unless I actively abort. It seems like this decision's already made for me. The countdown clock's moving. There it goes. 5, 4, 3. I need to sleep. But you made me want this more. This is not what I consciously signed up for when I hit play on one episode 6 hours ago. Architects of our digital world, you have more data, information, and control over our attention, the tools to tweak our emotions so we'll return to your experience, but is that what we should do? Or should you build digital tools so advanced they can actually enhance the world outside the device in our hands? Can you add so much value that it lets us put our phones back in our pants as fast as we possibly can? Not time-sucking, time-giving innovation. That's what it means to be truly technologically advanced. The future is not all screens. It's humanity enhanced. Thank you. Thank you. So, and the key here is that there's become a fundamental difference between what we want and what we'll watch. The reasons are not aligned. We're so good at persuasion, we have so much data, that our behaviors are no longer good indicators of what actually makes us happy, of what we actually want. And so we surveyed about 200,000 users. An app called Moment did this. Essentially asking people to screenshot their battery life and then asking them how satisfied were they with their use of time. And so you'll notice on the right is most of the apps that we spend the most time on. You see 61 minutes of usage there, 46, 59. And these are the apps that have the majority of users saying they're not happy with their time spent on these apps. And it's funny that Grindr is first on there. Yes, we can laugh about that for a second. And it's a lot of gaming apps and the social networks that make up most of this. And on the left, we have mostly utilities. And we also, it's interesting to see that audio, podcasts, and Audible we tend to rate that usage as more satisfying. And what does it say when it was my job to keep you there for as long as possible, and you're telling me that the longer you spend on these apps, the less happy you are? There's a disconnect. Something's off. And similarly, in that vein, on average, people who spend 2.4 times less on these apps are happy with their use. Technology is amazing. The answer is not disconnect all the time. But it's interesting that people who are spending 2.4 times longer are unhappy with their use, while people who are spending less are happy with it. Something is up. Our goals are not aligned. And it's going to seem like I'm getting a little sidetracked here. This is from Sam Harris's TED Talk. But we think of this idea of, we have an ant, the idea of low computational power or intelligence, human, higher, theoretically, robot, crazy, super fast computing intelligence. You could argue we're actually more intelligent in some ways right now. They're better than we are in many ways. But so what's interesting here is that we don't go out of our way to kill the ant. In fact, sometimes we take great care not to kill them. But the moment they interfere with our goals, for example, to build on this construction site, we annihilate them without question. And already, our goals are not the same as the machine goals. These super algorithms that are shaping how we consume information, our goals are not the same. And I'd like to argue we need to pay more attention to the runaway algorithms that are maximizing for one thing right now than we do have to fear this big robot foot stomping on our faces. When we think of AI running away, we think of this. This is the standard we're all going to die from AI image. And sure, maybe, but we don't think enough about this, where we're being farmed for our attention because the algorithms are so good. Look at these people happy in their chairs. They're so good at giving us such engaging content we want, that it stops prioritizing what matters to us. But this is like, it's just far-fetched. This would never happen in real life, right? Like, it's ridiculous. And so, I'm being unfair because this was a demo and Mark is playing a little joke. And so, we don't have these things on our face all the time, but we do this all the time. And when we're not doing it there, whenever we're at any experience, and I don't mean to pick on you who have your phones out now, but we're doing this. And this is an artist who I really love who photoshops phones out of pictures. And I just want to raise the question of, have we lost the first battle to AI? Has it already happened? And one of the reasons I'm so deeply concerned about this is 4 minutes. Okay, I'll quickly say this doesn't have to be the case. We can measure our success in human values. Some companies already doing this. Meetup helps people create 1 million hours of connecting in real life every month. Headspace helps each user add 10 minutes of calm and lower stress every morning. Adblock reclaim 30-40% of attention across the internet. Asana helps teams become 45% more efficient. You can read these. Ultimately, what's aligned here, and I think there's a market because you have to pay for a lot of these apps, but the reasons we go into these apps are the same things it's being maximized for on the back end. Imagine if social networks were not optimizing for time spent in engagement, but reducing human loneliness, creating the maximum number of meaningful experiences or whatever is right for you, helping you spend time with people that you've indicated you care about. I would pay for that. I would not pay for them as they are now. I would absolutely pay for using this data in a way that actually matters to us, in a way that actually helps. And so I think, okay. I'll end with I'm worried because it's going to get worse. It's going to get a lot more engaging. We're going to get better and better and better at persuading you. There's probably a lot of VR stuff here where we're fully immersed in that emotional internet. And VR can be beautiful. It can be incredible to help us live our lives better, and there are a lot of really wonderful tools. But I worry about the direction we're going. And so I was at Disney World as an adult, which is not something I recommend. And there was an exhibit where you put on pretty much VR glasses and you go through the Disney movies. And dove into The Little Mermaid and they dropped water from the ceiling. And I felt the water, and for a few minutes I just felt like I completely lost my sense of reality. I felt like I saw the future at Disney World and it wasn't real. Or not real like I know real. Not like we've defined real, but I dove into the virtual sea and I felt the water splash across my face. I heard the ocean in my ears. I saw a mermaid singing right in front of me and I could touch, right through her. Look at this stuff. Isn't it neat? And I can't be the only one to see the irony that she wants to be. Where the people are. She wants to see them dancing. But as a representative sample of supposed to be dancers, we're fine, thank you, content here in our minds, thank you. Let's turn reality to channel 259, thank you, walking around on those. What are they called again? Who remembers? Scene changed to behind Aladdin and Jasmine on their magic carpet ride. And as I'm marveling at this new fantastic point of view, I realized love could live here too. I could build a whole new world with you, an adventure with you, fly through skies of green and trees of blue, this shining, shimmering, splendid gift. It's now available for just $19.99 when Squarespace meets Oculus Rift. Scene changed to the African plains to where Simba and Nala are playfully playing. So close that I'm literally part of their game, though I can't quite feel the wrestling. Not yet. But give it time, we're still developing. We'll make simulation much more like the real thing. You'll have complete control over everything because we just can't wait to be king. We just can't wait to rule over the worlds we'll create rather than participate in the one we share. And we'll be able to build our own world soon. Let's have tea in Morocco this afternoon. And this evening, I'll build you a palace on the moon, and we'll sip soup on silver spoons. And for dessert, we'll have gravity removed, float through the cosmos with oxygen tubes. I've rejiggered the physics on Mars and Neptune to make them more suitable for you. Our minds' worlds have different rules. We're no longer bound by atmosphere. Nature's limitations wiped clear. You can turn people on and off in here. So by channel 2865, my world's only touched by those I decide. I'm completely immersed in the confines of my own mind, opposing ideas left swiped aside. But maybe eventually we'll come to find we needed each other this whole damn time. Maybe this world we're the tiniest piece of has a system of balance we wouldn't possibly scheme up, pushing us somewhere we'd never dream of. Maybe we shouldn't have all this power. Maybe going forwards is backwards. Maybe we should go lie in the grass and make love without glasses, even if it hardly stimulates orgasm classic. I want to be where the people are. Up where they walk, up where they run, up where they stay all day in the sun. Wish I could be wandering free, part of that world. Thank you, guys.